Hello, this is Christina Barr, and you're watching Black Tea News. Hello, welcome to Black Tea News. I'm your host, Christina Barr, and today we're going to be talking about a Canadian trans-identified woman, male who identifies as female, as a woman. Tim, trans-identified male. That's what they say, Tim. Okay. Anyways, a trans woman who decided to compete again in women's powerlifting and set a new record. This person's been in the news quite a bit. And in Canada, there was someone some time ago who won a competition, was a coach who's a male who competed to prove a point, but I guess the point was not received. So I want to talk about this story, as well as Trump being indicted again in Georgia. And we knew this one was coming. And I have concerns about what's gonna happen to the whole country. We'll get into it for sure. But if you're Republican and you're all in for Trump and you're like, he's gonna pull it through, he's gonna beat all these things, and he's gonna be back in the White House, I'm concerned. I don't see how you see that, but maybe someone can tell me different. But I'll walk you through some of my thoughts and feelings. And also, yesterday I did mention Biden going on vacation and his how people responded to his no comment. And when you contrast that to other politicians during other tragedies, even people like Ted Cruz, they're mad that he went on vacation with his family and he had to come back when there was, freezing cold in Texas, and Biden was, chilling on the beach while all these people have faced all this devastation. But they're not offering a lot of aid. When I was looked at it, and I'm like, that's messed up. So we'll get into that as well, and some other things. But before we jump into everything, I want to encourage you guys to go to blacktnews.com, check out different content on the website, different articles, different videos, etc. If you like what I do here, please consider leaving a donation to blacktnews.com/donate. Costs a stream, costs to run my website, all that stuff. So if you can support in that way, whether it's a gift of $10, $20, $50 more, whatever you can do, it's very much appreciated. You guys can also give stars if you're watching Facebook. If you're watching via YouTube, you guys can do super chats, and I'll be looking at those super chats and stuff. So if you want to do that, thank you. Appreciate it. You guys can also check out different merch that's available on the website, like My Mind, My Business. We got, different mugs, like the Black Tea mugs. We got these mugs here that says "You Are Not That Special." We also have these pumpkin spice seasons. It's a little early, but you want to make sure you have the mug by the time pumpkin spice season comes along. So you guys can check out the merch that we have at the site. And that is a way that you also can support. Also, you guys can check out different books that I've written and stuff. I have 17 altogether. Most of them are fiction books, paranormal, romance, historical fiction, etc. I do also have nonfiction books, like my book, Of Course God is Blatantly Against Abortion. By the way, I mentioned how I was so impressed by Trent Horn's debate with conversation with Destiny on whatever podcast was much better than the Lila Rose and Kristen Hawkins debate. And they just had conflicting energies, and it was hard to watch. And I didn't watch all of it. I tried to watch, and I couldn't get through a lot of it. I've seen a lot of clips of it, and I did try, but I'm like, if you just saw it, it's just a missed opportunity. So Trent had about a 3-hour conversation with Destiny, and it was really good. And I felt that he put shine a light on the fatal flaw in Destiny's argument as far as like consciousness being needed to protect the unborn, and that at that spot, like, then you don't have any other abortions, etc. Like the only thing that really matters is consciousness, I guess. And so um you know, if you haven't seen it, it's really, really great. So I started watching some more things that Trent did. So he did a debate with is it David Boonin, who did the Ship versus McFall case. And in that case, to just briefly sum it up, this argument is used by I don't, maybe not a ton of pro-choice people, but it's becoming more popular as people talk about it. And so this case is used to say that if you, even if the unborn are alive and human beings and all that stuff, etc., it doesn't matter because you can't make the woman give up her resources. So it uses a state case where there was a man who found someone to give him bone marrow for a donation and stuff, but then the person decided not to do it, and then they went to the court, and the court was like, we can't make you do that. So he spans a bunch of like philosophical like examples from this particular court case, and I did mention it in my book briefly. Of course, guys blatantly against abortion, because to me it really doesn't make a lot of sense. And so and that's what he used in the debate against Trent, and they talked about other things like personhood and so on. But I'm gonna do a breakdown of that argument, at least the bit that he opened up with, because I think there's a lot of issues with it. Um, so just want to let you know that that's, down the pipeline, that we'll get into that, because I think it's really important and evident that it's important for the pro-choice argument to say that at a particular point or whatever, that the unborn aren't persons, and to be able to justify what happens. And actually Anne Warren, who um argued a lot for the personhood argument, that you require like 5 different things, but one of them is like consciousness, ability to feel pain. She even like um criticized the infamous violinist argument, and saying it basically falls flat once you kind of start acknowledging that the unborn, if they're a person, it just doesn't come together as far as the arguments of, yeah, you can go ahead and kill that person. So the argument that he's making is interesting, but I think it just really falls apart. Like I debate this and talk about this all the time, and I was listening to some of it driving with my older sister, and she's just like and just was like, that doesn't make sense, that doesn't make sense. I'm like, it's becoming a bit of a popular argument. So just wanted to throw that out there, that's something that I'm working on as well. So let's move on. I do have a meme that I want to share with you guys. First story I'm going to jump into is this story about this power lifter, and we'll get into the Trump stuff. So that'll be the order of things. But my meme has to do with this story, and I couldn't show the video from South Park. I guess I could. I just don't feel like getting dinged with the copyright today. Um, so there's this. If you're an Office fan, I'm sure you've seen this. Something like a meme like this. And corporate needs you to find the differences between this picture and this picture. They're the same picture. And there's an episode of South Park where they have, a man, Macho Savage there, competing with a bunch of women, and them just getting dominated. One of them getting the crap beaten out of them along the way during the competition, and he's first because he says he's a woman, and so that's what's happening, and it's a shame that our South Park, which I'm, never really been a fan of. There's been clips that I've seen, etc. I think I've maybe sat down and watched one episode of it, but they do parody so well, because one, they don't care about who they're ticking off, and This is just too true to life. It's too true to life, because we're really in this ridiculous state here. So this particular power lifter we've talked about before actually, but Redux did an article covering this. So if you're not familiar with Redux, they cover a lot of stories about this particular topic. I think specifically that's why they exist, to cover um the trans phenomenon and how it's violating and overriding women in their spaces and their rights and their prisons and their spas. So if you don't follow them, um then you should. I got a question. Do I work to promote homeschooling? I do like homeschooling, prefer homeschooling, but I'm not with some kind of organization or something. If there's some kind of deeper question, you can go to my website and send a request or something. Anyway, male power lifter sets new women's record doing the 2023 Western Canadian Championship. A male power lifter who identifies as a woman set a women's national record at a championship in Brandon, uh, Mont- Manitoba yesterday. Ann Andrews, 40, currently holds multiple records in the female division, including women's deadlift and bench press, and has placed first in 9 out of 11 competitions he has participated in over the past 4 years. I do appreciate Redux not, I mean, they're just using the appropriate pronouns here. Andrews appeared in the Canadian Powerlifting Union's 2023 Western Canadian Championship yesterday, which was held at Brandon University Healthy Living Center. Andrews participated in the female masters unequipped category and beat out Michelle uh, Kamenik and Sulin Gill for the first place award. According to advanced results obtained by Redux, Andrew's total powerlifting score was over 200 kilograms, more than the top performing female in the same class, 597.5 kilograms versus Sulin Gill's 387.5 kilograms total. A total is a sum of the heaviest weight lifted for the squat, bench press, and deadlift. And Andre's total would have placed him in amongst the top performing male powerlifters in the entire championship had he participated in the men's category. According to a source who was present at the championship, Andre set both a Canadian and women's national record and the unofficial women's world powerlifting record. Boasting of his success, Andres shared video of his to his Instagram account of his participation, where he can be seen competing against female athletes while wearing pink socks and donning blue dyed hair. So I do have that video that I can share really quickly with you guys. But it is wild to me that this keeps happening. Now there was an incident that this article will get into, where there was a man who actually protested against this sort of thing and was a coach, and he got really applauded by it. Though I think it's sad that we've got to. Yeah, so bragging. So there's really no reason why this person shouldn't be competing with men. This is the post today. I did some lifting, not just some lifting. I got to lift with friends from across Canada, friends who welcome me and love me and want me to be there, friends who support trying to be the best me. I couldn't ask for more than that, could I? You can lift with male friends. Your friends can support you in male competitions. You don't have to go to girl competitions. And take away spots that don't belong to you, that are not entitled to you, that you have no business competing in. Keep in mind, I turned 40 a week ago, so suddenly being Master 1 is kind of hollow. That in mind, I got every Masters record and 2 unofficial World Master records. I don't care about records. Yeah, right. I care about being there with my friends. I missed bench because the platform was very slick, so basically Larson pressed my 2 good lifts. I missed my 3rd deadlift because I wasn't strong enough today. Cool story, do better next time, right? Anyways, it's been about 14 hours. The caffeine is wearing off, time to sleep. Thank you for having me, friends. I am always honored to be allowed to be there with you. I hope I earn it. I got a lot of messages today, but I was on the road for 11 hours, so if I missed anyone, I'm sorry. Um, the Western Canadian Championships was held under the umbrella of the Canadian Powerlifting Union, which announced a gender self-identification policy earlier this year. The policy, which garnered mass backlash from women's rights advocates, explicitly allowing any males to participate in women's competitions on the basis of self-declared gender alone. In February, the CPU's trans inclusion policy was released, containing an explicit statement that the CPU supported allowing transgender powerlifters to participate in the sex category of their choosing based on a guidance from the Canadian Center of Ethics in Sports. Based on this background and available evidence, of the expert working group felt that the trans athletes should be able to participate in the gender in which they identify, regardless of whether or not they have undergone hormone therapy. The document reads, deferring to the inclusivity and sport guidance from the CCES. Just prior to the CPU's announcement of the gender self-identification policy, Andreas gained a significant notoriety after sharing a video of himself appearing to mock female athletes, asking why female powerlifters were so bad at bench press. I know I played this video before, but
Why is women's bench so bad? I mean, not compared to me. We all know that I'm a tranny freak, so that doesn't count. And no, we're not talking about Mackenzie Lee. She's got little T Rex arms and she's like 400 pounds of chest muscle, apparently. I mean, standard bench in powerlifting competition for women, I literally don't understand why it's so bad.
yeah, so people were like, you're a dude. In March, a powerlifting coach who has worked with Team Canada self identified as a woman in order to protest the admission of men into women's sports at the Heroes Classic powerlifting meet held in Lethbridge, Alberta. Avi Silverberg unofficially broke the Alberta women's bench press record for the 84 plus kilogram category. And I don't have that video on hand, but we did play it before. But he got a lot of praise from folks, especially, on the right, for protesting in that sort of way. It's sad that men feel that they have to do that. But that's probably the best sort of solution for stuff like this, especially if you can just, because in other competitions they say that you have to meet a particular threshold with your hormones and stuff. Um, they're saying that you can just, if you can just identify as a female, as a woman, and go and compete, they should just have a bunch of like dudes who normally get first place or something, and just show up and just completely dominate the sport and do that for a minute. They should just do it for a while until people begin to just outrage and say this isn't right, and they change the rules, because apparently the one time wasn't enough. um and Andres here, he did actually comment about the protest, and said that later responded to Silverberg's demonstration in the video he shared to his Instagram account on March 26, stating that the professional coach had malicious intent, but that ultimately the gesture was nothing and was entirely ignored. And I wouldn't say it was malicious intent. Maybe it was, obviously directed toward that individual to prove a point that what he's doing is malicious and evil and wrong. But most people got that he was doing it in protest on behalf of women. But if there's a lot of women out there who, you know, won't say anything or are behind folks like this power lifter. And there's other women who are afraid to speak up. We know that was the case for a lot of like the girls who swam with William Thomas, Leah Thomas, and were berated and threatened and gaslit and abused, so they wouldn't speak up. So if that's the case there, um, we might just need more men to come and rescue us, rescue the ladies, and do some more protests if that's what it's going to take for people to get some common sense about this stuff. I mean, either that or you wait for people to detransitioners to pour in a lot of lawsuits, and maybe people will, start acting right when there's some money at hand. But, if you don't even need to take hormones and have surgeries, and maybe you could grow your hair out long and wear some pink socks or whatever, and be like, I'm a woman, and go and do your power lift. So it's a pretty crazy world that we have here. Um there's no reason why someone like that cannot just compete with other men. Even if you want to identify as a woman, there's no reason why you can't still, you know, say that you're a woman, go home, and I don't know how you live your life as a woman at home, but do all those things that you do, and still compete with the men. There's no reason why you can't do both. No reason why you can't do both. There's no reason why um Leah Thomas couldn't still just compete with the men, other than the fact that, wouldn't have been very good, especially, taking the drugs and getting slower and all that stuff. Um but he wouldn't have got them titles and been able to really compete if he was competing against guys and not the girls. So people saying it's not about the titles, it's not about the medals and the praise and stuff. It's just about hanging out with your friends. Then just hang out with your friends. Just go to the gym with your friends and hang out, or just go to the competitions and support your friends. You don't have to compete if it's not about the titles that you're bragging about on social media. It's just obviously ridiculous. Obviously not true. Anyway, moving on. The indictments keep piling up with Trump. The Bragg indictment is which is the one in New York. That one was ridiculous. And especially coming from someone, Bragg is someone who doesn't really like to prosecute crime, and then they, Frankenstein this crime to be able to stretch and hit Trump. And I think it's uncomfortable that we're having conversations. A lot of people are having conversations like, "Oh, well, it's going to be in New York, so even if it's not a good case, it could be bad for Trump." Or I don't know how worried most people are about that particular one. I think most people are just concerned about the setting there, and like, "Oh, it's in D.C. Trump's not going to be able to get a fair shot there." Like, "Oh, it's in Florida, so he'll do better there." Or, "Oh, it's in Atlanta, he's screwed." You know, I, we should feel like as a whole that, if it's in court and the jury is selected and they hear the evidence, that um they'll make a good decision based on how the case was presented, and if there's any merit there, etc., that people will just act fairly. But that doesn't seem to be anything that I hear people acknowledging at all. But anyway, back to Bragg. Some people are comparing. It seems like they're trying to make a comparison. I haven't seen anyone directly say his name, but they're trying to dismiss the DA here, to say that she's a corrupt this, blah blah blah. She is someone who is very hard on crime. So, I if anyone's thinking like, "Oh, we just dismiss the Democrats, oh, this person because um they wouldn't treat other people like that." I don't I don't think I don't think that's the case with this lady. She seems to be really tough and a particular expert on RICO violations, RICO, however you pronounce it. But I I'm I think this is going to cost Trump a lot of trouble. Um the strategy though with the RICO violations here, um I don't know how that's gonna work out because you would use those to try to get people to flip, but I don't know what, the underlings might say that isn't kind of known or hasn't been, like, revealed in other indictments and stuff. So all these people who are caught up in the web of this indictment, because he's not the only one indicted in this case, and they wanna, like, do the trial with, like, everyone together. I don't know, like Jenna Ellis has already was a Trump attorney. She's not like pro Trump at all now. So if she's indicted and they're hoping that maybe you'll flip and say something that'll save your skin and get Trump to go to prison, what else do they kind of need to even that they might not have that they think isn't going to land him? And I'm not saying that they all have like an airtight case, but I don't know what they could be hoping to get. Maybe they just want all these people to go to jail. Um, so I don't know, but I'm going to read this article from the Daily Wire. Grand jury returns indictment in Georgia election case against Trump. A Fulton County, Georgia grand jury returned a 98-page indictment on Monday night in the criminal investigation into the former President Donald Trump's alleged effort to overturn the results of the 2020 presidential election. The 41 count indictment charges 19 individuals, including Trump, Rudy Giuliani, John Eastman, Mark Meadows, Ken Chelseboro, Jeffrey Clark, Jenna Ellis, Ray Stalling Smith III, Robert Cheeley, Mike Roman, David Schaefer, Sean, Micah, Trester Still, Stephen Lee, Harrison Floyd, um, Trevion Cootie, Sidney Powell, Kathleen Latham, Scott Hall, and Misty Hampton. So Mark Meadows was the chief of staff. Rudy Giuliani was his personal lawyer. Getting Rudy Giuliani for Rico is pretty petty. Pretty petty. Um, Fulton County District Attorney Fannie Willis pursued charging individuals under Georgia's RICO Act, which allows prosecutors to string together crimes committed by different people toward one common goal, Axios reported, which makes it very difficult for defense attorneys to implement a coherent trial strategy. So they would use it for like to get the mob and stuff. So if there was all these low level people committing all these different crimes, and they couldn't quite string it all the way back up to the top, they would try to group all these folks together so the lower people would flip on the people at the top. So I said it's pretty petty to use it on Rudy, for that to circle back to him because man, he used it, certainly. So this is a mess. The lengthy prison sentences that come with being convicted under RICO violations are a major incentive for co-defendants to seek deals in return for new evidence, the report added. But I don't know what all these people might know to feel that they could supply to get them off. So or to strike that kind of deal to keep them out. Um I I don't know if that is the strategy or not. Maybe it's like do they really feel like Jenna Ellis is like hiding something that could make sure he's going to go to jail? Maybe they got, other things they could say, but is anything that they could say going to prove that Trump 100% believed that he had lost the election and was going to overturn results that he thought were illegitimate, excuse me, but still wanted to be the president. Are they going to be able to provide like that kind of smoking gun or something? I don't know. I don't foresee that. I don't like to predict though. So just speaking out loud, thinking out loud. In the state of Georgia, the governor does not have the ability to pardon convicts. That power rests with a board of pardons and paroles, which requires that a sentence be completed at least 5 years prior to applying for the pardon. A report added a U.S. president would not be able to pardon Trump in the case. So that's important to note because there's people out there, saying, Kip, what are you going to do to support Trump or et cetera? And there's people saying that he needs to pardon him and stuff. He doesn't have that power. He doesn't have that power. And I don't know what else people expect him to do. And it's also, I just want to say, if you've seen the movie Oppenheimer, there was a scene with his he was talking to his ex-wife, who's a communist. And she was talking about how he just treats people badly. And he's like, well, people kind of get over it because I'm a genius and very charismatic and stuff. And she's like, one of these days, and I'm sorry to spoil a little bit, but it's I won't go too deeper into that. I just want to make this point. But she's like, one of these days, it's gonna that could blow back on you how you treat people and stuff. So, Trump didn't treat Kemp very good because Kemp wouldn't go along with the election was stolen in Georgia, etc. So he was angry coming at Kemp. He tried to have him primaried, and then that didn't work out. And Kemp was, shellacked the guy in the primary and is, the governor right now. He even said like something along the lines of like Stacey Abrams will be better than Kemp in the their rematch basically. So Trump said all this stuff, did all this stuff, tried to get him out of office, and now all these Trump allies like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? And people should always do the right thing. So I'm not saying that as far as like being wrongly like persecuted or whatever, people shouldn't stand up and say the right thing, do the right thing. But there's a lot of folks who expect other people to go out on a limb when Trump doesn't always treat people right. Just to be frank, like in the Florida stuff, people were like, what is Ron DeSantis going to do? And I'm like, Trump has accused DeSantis in not so many words of being like a groomer, perhaps a pedophile. He had like tweeted out a picture of Ron, like, what's this groom? And he said something about grooming and stuff. And a bunch of other allegations and things about Ron and talk like he was all for him before, great governor, etc. Now Cuomo did a better job, and it's amazing how the script flips when someone's not like just 100% your lapdog are going to do everything that you say, including not running in the presidential race. And that now it's like, well, you're my enemy. Well, you gotta remember that people recall how you treat them. So everyone expecting all these folks to just lay down everything for the sake of Trump, I think it's a big ask. Just saying. Now, on the flip side, though, people should always just stand up for what is right. And all of these indictments at this point of time that will basically span from like January throughout the election is so suspicious. And we talked about it maybe last week. It was every day there was like a Biden thing that happened with Hunter or Biden or something. The next day there was an indictment. Just boom, 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 back to back. Probably not a coincidence. All this stuff is like it's a mastermind plot by the Democrats. I'm not saying that Trump didn't make some messes. But I am saying that the Democrats have a master plot right now, and it's very hard to see how Republicans kind of come out on top in November 2024. Because again, all these trials with Trump are going to span basically the year, and this particular one will probably go throughout the actual election of November, and so every through the primaries, through the which Trump is still like leading the primaries and stuff. So let's say he wins the primary and he's raising all this money. A lot of it, a huge chunk of it is going to legal fees, going to legal fighting, and they're not doing ground game operations, or they're not doing get out the vote. And there's swing states like Arizona, and I don't think Michigan's gonna be that much of a swing, but their state parties are bankrupt. They have no little to no money. So there's state parties that aren't there. They don't have the same kind of infrastructure that helped them win in 2016. And there's states where he's not, as popular in. This court case going in Georgia, how's he going to win the presidency if he doesn't win Georgia while this case is going on? So if he's atop of the ticket and a lot of money is being sucked out for all this legal stuff, and their focus is pulled here, pulled everywhere, and I can only imagine being in this particular situation. I'm sure it's not fun for him. But you're running on the down ticket and you knock on somebody's door, and then they're like, are you supporting Trump? He's being indicted for XYZ, blah, blah, blah. And you're pulled in with him. You're pulled in with him. That's just how it works. So even though there's all this stuff that you could be saying about the terrible job that Joe Biden has done, his policies, Afghanistan exit, the economy, the tyrannical COVID policies, how Bidenomics isn't really, they keep trying to push it, but it's not, it's like fetch. It's just not going to happen. You could be talking about his shady stuff with his son, how he continuously, it's on video, lied about him never talking to his son, and the goalposts keep moving, because now it's to the point where and he's like, my son did nothing wrong. Now it's like, well, you can't prove that anything went into Joe Biden's bank accounts when there's a text message that says from Hunter to his daughter that he pays his dad's bills. We've always had a smoking gun. They're like, we can't find anything. There's no evidence, they said with their eyes closed. So there's all this stuff that could be talked about that should tank a normal person, should tank them, that will not really be discussed in the media, because they'll be talking nonstop about the trials. And in Georgia, they plan to film it. They said they will have cameras. By the way, they're gonna actually take a photo. Apparently, going to take a photo of Trump getting his mugshot and stuff, which I'm sure that'll be on lots of T-shirts, including the Trump campaign. They actually, when he was indicted in was it the Bragg case or the Florida case? They were hoping for a mugshot because they were going to put it on T-shirts and stuff. So then they just made one themselves. Obviously not a real mugshot shot, but they but they started selling stuff as well with Trump, with and it's a good rally cry for him to raise money. People want to help him because they feel he's been wrongly persecuted, for sure. But this is an enormous plot by the Democrats, and it's a good plan. It's a good plan. It's evil, but it's a good plan. And the only way that I could really see Republicans being able to salvage 2024 and be able to focus it on Biden and his bad policies and his shady stuff. And is if Trump isn't the nominee. Like, I don't know, people want the poetic kind of justice of they came at him and like Return of the Jedi kind of moment or something after the Sith, came and um did the Empire Strikes Back thing. They like the heroic justice of being able to come out on top. I he, I don't know if that's going to happen with all these cases. I don't I think he's in trouble. And I'm just trying to be honest with you guys. I'm just trying to be honest with you. I think the Florida one, and I don't know what all will stay in the case and what might get thrown out, what, because a lot of the information they got from his lawyers. Um but in the superseded indictment, they said that they had the document that Trump showed to the people, saying like, oh, it's secret though. It's, I can't, when I was president, I could have made it declassified it, but I'm not anymore. So um there's some issues there in the Florida, but he probably will have a jury that's more favorable to him. The indictment in DC, I think that one is less compelling, but it's in DC, and this one's gonna be in Atlanta, like during the election time. So I think all this is like well timed, obviously. Because I mean 2020 happened a minute ago. Why wait so long for all this? Why is there a special counsel now with Hunter Biden as opposed to doing that from the beginning? Why is um the person who oversaw the plea deal, the sweetheart plea deal that basically would have got him immunity, um why is he the special counsel? They're supposed to get someone outside of the government, and they're getting someone who was presided over the case. After they did like the investigation, they were ready to present to the judges and stuff. They came to their plea deal. What more is there to investigate other than how they came to that dumb deal? They need an investigation on how they came to that outcome. And now the person in charge of that outcome is now the special counsel. But you know what? Now the Republicans, if they want to call for different testimonies, they can say, well, it's an ongoing investigation. And there's things we can't comment on. So it kind of takes what could be possibly more damning information being known or whatever. It takes that out of the news. They're playing chess. I know people are like, Trump is playing 3D chess, 4D chess. They're the ones playing chess. They're the ones playing chess, guys. I'm sorry to dump on your day. I'm sorry to dump on your day. So this is going to be televised. And now all the stuff that they'll lay out, it doesn't mean that they'll get to a point where to be able to prove that the Trump is guilty of committing a crime. But there's some ways that he acted, and some different quotes they'll have from different people within his campaign and close to it. That'll say some things that wasn't great behavior on his part. So I just don't this isn't good for him. I'm gonna go ahead and continue reading this article. The Trump campaign released a statement that called Willis a rabid partisan who is campaigning and fundraising on a platform of prosecuting President Trump through these bogus indictments. I don't doubt that she's a rabid partisan. She is tough on crime, though. The statement claimed that Willis strategically stalled her investigations to try to maximally interfere with the 2024 presidential race and damage the dominant Trump campaign, and that the accusations contained in it were fabricated. They are right about it probably being stalled for perfect timing. It's not right. Um, they playing chess. The statement blasted the indictment as election interference or election manipulation and said that Trump used his First Amendment rights to challenge what he claimed was a rigged and stolen election that Democrats do all the time. Now, there is some conversations from folks on the right that like the RNC is like tweeting out compilation videos of Stacey Abrams, for example, and other Democrats saying that in Stacey Abrams' case, she kept claiming that she actually won the race. Saying that you won a race versus plotting to have electors and all that stuff, that's different than just saying, and then they could file lawsuits, which but at the same time you lose your lawsuits, you pay out stuff. It's not the same thing as the level of the conspiracies that they're alleging from Trump. So them trying to compare it to Stacey Abrams and other, that's just not going to work. There's different things in the indictments that list different steps that they did to try to build up to the crime, and a lot of folks are dismissing it, like Libs of TikTok, which I like Libs of TikTok's page a lot, but they posted something from the indictment. It says things that are apparently illegal in America: tweeting that you're watching TV, reserving rooms for meetings, asking someone for a phone number. So there's all kinds of different things like that in the indictment, like Trump told people to watch the OWN network, and he retweeted or someone retweeted this. And those things aren't illegal. The indictment isn't saying that those things are illegal, but it's like someone uses example, like it's not illegal to go to the store and buy a garbage bag. But if you're going to the store to buy a garbage bag to dispose of the dead bodies, then that's relevant in the case. So there's a lot of commentary, from both sides that aren't up to snuff. But it's a 98-page indictment. You could go ahead and look at it yourself. My sister called me this morning, like basically as soon as I woke up, and was like, I'll email it to you. And we talked a little while about the state of things and different people who are dragged into it. So again, if they think all these people are going to flip, I don't know what they think that they may have that might be that smoking gun to get with the rest of them off. But if they put Trump in jail, I don't know what will happen. But Kemp can't pardon him, even if I think there's a few candidates who said that if they were elected, that they would pardon him, like Vivek and DeSantis. But it's a state crime. It's a state crime. I don't know. I mean, I definitely want to win back the White House, and I want to win I want to pick up seats in the Senate. I want to make sure we expand our lead in the House. Clever girl. They've really set up a conundrum for Republicans that this is going to be such a big block of conversations. And then it's not like a lot of people can step away. Like, for example, the entire Michigan delegation, I believe, endorsed Trump already. So even if they, try to walk back stuff, they could be like, you already endorsed him, which I don't understand why they did that so early. Some of them are like super, super pro Trump, talk to him and isn't all that stuff. So I'm not surprised for that support. But there's just so much stuff going on now. People in Michigan are there's Republicans in Michigan who don't like Trump or want Trump, but it's a heavy it's the state is purplish, but mostly blue, I would say, and it's getting bluer by the second. But the Trump base in Michigan is so strong, so strong. So if you don't support him, you're gonna lose a lot of support. So I I I I guess I kind of understand people saying that they're gonna that they endorsed him, but especially if they were putting pressure on to make them all do it together, which I assume was the case. But um I would just kind of but it was too early. There's too much stuff going on. I don't think it was a good move, and I don't think it's ultimately going to be a good move for some of their races where they're going to run. Um it's going to be hard for a lot of people. But you have to still run. You have to still try. You still have to make your case. You can't just roll over and give up. And you still have to fight. I mean, obviously Trump is going to fight. I mean, what was the alternative? To go to jail? He's got to fight, and there's plenty of people who are going to want to fight with him and for him. But there's a lot of things that he has to pay for himself, and there's probably a lot of people who are going to be on the hook for a lot of their own legal bills. And that's in the case of the electors in Michigan. That's what I've heard. I don't. I heard some rumblings today that I have to look into. That maybe there might be some assistance there, but a lot of them are on their own, and I don't appreciate that. And I'm sure these other folks, if they are on the hook themselves, they won't appreciate that either. So I'm not saying it's not impossible for someone to flip on Trump. I can't imagine what they could offer that they need, I guess, that they'll find they can get. We'll see. We'll see. Last thing I want to mention before I let you go. We talked a little bit about Hawaii yesterday and Biden's response to it. That's lackluster. This man who's on never-ending vacations because he really needs to take a nap because he's just not quite with it. But the relief after he was berated for his lack of, I don't know, empathy, compassion, and care, he tweeted out some things that they were doing. Well, let me just I mentioned, like, if you haven't seen the photos or anything, it's like a post-apocalyptic show or something. I mean, you go to Hawaii to film things like Lost, right? And it looks like you could film The Walking Dead. I mean, it's awful what happened. Yeah, just well, Biden, he did tweet out, the residents of Hawaii mourn the loss of life and devastation taking place across the beautiful home. We mourn with them. Like I've said, not only our prayers are with those impacted, but every asset we have will be available to them. Here's the latest. Okay. One, FEMA's temporary sheltering assistance is now available for residents who were displaced from their homes by wildfires, allowing survivors to shelter in homes or motels temporarily as they develop a long-term housing plan. We're laser focused on getting aid to survivors, including critical needs assistance a one-time $700 payment per household, offering relief during an unimaginably difficult time. We have staff on the ground dedicated to helping survivors navigate this registration process. So, there, okay, so there's other things. Talking about locating families and other stuff, but this $700 has me shook because they said a one time $700 payment per household. During COVID, we all got some checks. I don't remember what all the check prices were. One was like 1200, right? And 600 or something, 400 or first time was it like 15? Do you guys remember how much they were? But they weren't per household. They were like people who qualified and some people didn't get it or whatever. But I remember I was in the store. I was shopping at Torrid in the mall, and there was the woman at the register in front of me. She was talking about her son who's a child, and this wasn't the first payment. I think this was like another one. And she said that she was using her money for her son. Like, she asked him what he wanted, and he wanted like a hoverboard or something. She's like, so I got him like a hoverboard. It was a hoverboard or some kind of bike, or it was something along those lines. And she was like, well, the government gave it to him. It's his money, so he can spend it on what he wants. And so I'm not telling that story to bash that woman. I'm just saying that the government gave everybody money, basically. Not everybody, but a lot of people money. And not everybody there's people who definitely needed it, and and it was a great help at the time. And there's some people who got it and didn't necessarily need it. And I don't think you're in a big emergency if you're going to be like, here's your hoverboard money, son. So we didn't get per household checks during COVID, and COVID was bad. And it's different because not only was the pandemic happening, they were told you how to react in the pandemic, and they told you to react by not going to work. You can't go to work. You have to, like, some of you can go to work, but others of you are not essential. You have to stay home and not make money. So they're like, well, this is a bit of relief here. We will send you this. They're paying people up the wazoo not to work. And so they sent out a lot of money to a lot of people. and it wasn't per household. So I just can't believe that they said we will give you a one-time payment. They let you know up front that it was one time for your family. I've come from a household of a 9. I don't know what everybody's household is, but why? But I come from a household of 9, and things are way more expensive than they used to be when I was a child, and we could all, eat Happy Meals and whatnot. And, it's stuff is so expensive. Groceries are so expensive. It's, I don't have kids, and it's got to be rough, so rough out there for people with all these kids and these mouths to feed and stuff, with the price of eggs and just all kinds of. I bought some pizza last night, and I was like, oh, well, I want something to drink. And so I'm like, I'm not buying this 2 liter from this place if it's this much money. And so I decided to go into like a Rite Aid because I figured it'd be cheaper. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's the actual price of the 2 liter. And so I just got to end up getting it from the pizza place. But I was just floored. And it probably would have been cheaper if I went to Meijer or something like that. But I wasn't about to go there late night for something to drink, but it was just, I know that's not an essential thing what I got versus like, eggs and milk and other stuff, but all that stuff is expensive too. So if your family of about however many you are, like if Biden tweeted out, our house has been destroyed by fire, and it's like, don't worry, I'm gonna send you guys a one time. I want you to know it's a one time. We are not even going to think about giving you anymore. It's a one time $700 payment. And hopefully that makes you feel better. Sorry you lost everything you loved. That is wild to me. That is wild to me. That is so low. And think about how much money we send to Ukraine nonstop, no questions asked. Like again, military aid and stuff. Um, it's bananas. It's bananas. Think about how much foreign aid we send to other countries, just period. If this was another country and they would we be doing more? Doing for our own people? Think about how much money they're spending for people who legally cross the border. I'm baffled. I'm baffled. My sister said the one time is disrespectful, and maybe they'll do more later or whatever. I see a lot of people bring up the $700. I heard Ben talking about today, and I saw this as Savvy tweeted out. I'm like, he did say $700. That is not a lot for a family, a whole household. They didn't say a household per like this, and it scales up. They said a one time per household. There's a difference between like if it was like 700 per household and it's me and my sister versus like if it was us when we were all living under my parents' roof. That that's a crazy difference too. That's a crazy difference. So that's our government. But don't worry, Biden is on it, going to another vacation very soon. He's old man. He needs to sleep. Needs to sleep, guys. Anyway, thank you guys for joining me today. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. We'll be looking deeper into the indictments and reporting as more things break. But I'm concerned about 2024. But we're getting outfoxed, guys. Just to be frank, we're just getting outfoxed here. And it's not because people are fair. It's not because people care about justice so much. The timing is so suspect. One thing after another. The timing of when these things drop, and some of the things that they're willing to nail them on versus like how the Hunter Biden probe is, and they're very different things. Don't get me wrong, they're very different things, very different allegations. But we know, we know. Do you guys that they're shady and there's two tiers of justice? Do you guys remember when Trump was like you'd be in jail like on the debate stage and people are just so just disgusted by it? And it wasn't just the idea that they were trying to stick with Hillary Clinton did no wrong, because she definitely did crazy shady things. It was the fact that at least the narrative was it's so terrible to persecute your political opponent. And Trump like instinctively I guess knew that, because he was like, after the election he was immediately like, no more lock her up chance, it's not what we're doing. And he had an interview, he was like, I don't want to hurt her, like to assure people like I'm not some kind of third world evil dictator or something, he just kind of wanted to move on. And and now people are like, oh, but they let Hillary go, like, that was his choice, I guess. Maybe maybe it was a mistake, maybe it wasn't, maybe he did it for the betterment of America, but now we've crossed this threshold and we're going into probably a dark place. Now maybe it won't get so dark because Republicans are kind of weak in the knees and they won't continuously kind of return the favor. That's kind of happening here with Trump, but um it's just crazy that Trump was then impeached for trying to go after using his power to go after his political opponent. That's what they're saying about him making his call about Joe Biden to Zelensky, asking like, "Hey, I saw this thing about Biden getting rid of this prosecutor who happened to be looking to the company that his son was on the board of." So Trump had some interesting and I would say legitimate concerns about what was going on in Biden, and the whole narrative was like, "How dare you? How dare you try to go after your political opponent?" And Trump has all these indictments, and we're not stupid. We are not stupid. We understand what's happening. With that being said, I think people should kind of look at some of the stuff alleged in it and ask yourself whether you want him to be in jail. Do you think it's still behavior that you approve for him to be the president? I think that's another thing people need to ask themselves too. But anyway, the Democrats are really playing a sophisticated game of chess, and they don't care that they're rigging the game in their favor. They just want to win. They just want to win, and they're setting themselves up pretty nice to do so. Anyway, back to the closing. You can go to blacktnews.com, check out different content on my website, articles, videos, etc. Check out different merchandise that we have at the store, which I'm sure there will very soon be a Trump mugshot one that I and every other person will probably be making. You guys can check out other merch that we have as well. We got these cool Canada shirts here, like Free Canada. We got some pro-life stuff. Again, we have the "You Are Not That Special." We got this "Make Crack Whack Again" Trump 2024 shirt, which was not actually related to Hunter Biden, but now it's really funny. So you guys can check out other merch. And if you like what I do, please consider leaving a donation at blacktnews.com/donate, because it costs to stream, costs to run my website, all that stuff. So if you can support in some kind of way, I very much do appreciate it. And I will see you guys tomorrow.